Brought to you by GTA. We start with you.
Real Estate Commission Chairman Chris Murphy is in full support of the measure, which he says will provide long overdue consumer protections and level the playing field for home buyers.
Purchasing a home is probably the largest investment the average person will make during his or her lifetime. And if you are like many of us, you may not be a real estate expert with the ability to ensure that you're getting the best possible deal. In fact, unlike the majority of jurisdictions throughout the United States, Guam real estate transactions are based on the concept of caveat emptor, or let the buyer beware.
Murphy says transactions are sold as is, placing the burden on the buyer and creating in the seller's mind that they're not responsible for acknowledging or fixing any major defects. But fellow Real Estate Commissioner Attorney Mars Johnson says the language of what's required to be disclosed needs to be very specific.
I think it would be perhaps wiser if we were to put together a real estate disclosure law on Guam that specifically addresses that that sellers should disclose, say, X, Y, and Z things that the legislature has decided are important to be disclosed.
And then there's a section on disclosing stigmatized property. Johnson zeroed in on a provision that requires disclosure of a haunted house.
No other state has such a requirement in its statute, and it's pretty easy to understand why. I believe if the Guam legislature were to pass a law requiring sellers of real property or homes to disclose the house is haunted or disclose other paranormal activity, this would probably be taken up in the news in a bad way and reflect poorly on Guam's real estate community and the Guam legislature.
But Murphy says deaths such as suicides or murders at a home are a real issue for Guam home buyers, especially among the Asian community.
Almost every Asian I deal with, one of the first questions they ask, anyone die here? So they're a big part of the buying community here. So I think it's an appropriate concept to have in there. If it needs to be defined or limited more, then I'm okay with that. But I don't think we should just whitewash the whole stigmatized issue.
Bill sponsor Senator Perez says she will refine the bill, taking into account the day's testimony. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.